Alright, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good evening so far. So, I'm not doing any, Outer Wilds tonight. As I mentioned on Wednesday, this is just gonna be a kind of a short stream tonight since it's already pretty late. So we're just doing Chaos Head Noah tonight. Let's see what happened last time on Chaos Head Noah. So, what's his name? I can't remember the fucking main character's name. Takumi, yeah. So he went to school, and one of his classmates, can't remember his name, was trying to have a conversation with him, although he was mostly just talking about how he was having sex with a few of the girls in the class, and I don't know. Yeah. Takumi wasn't really saying much in response to him. It was a pretty one-sided conversation. But then Takumi noticed that there was his I guess his secret phrase that he says from time to time, written on the chalkboard, and he was pretty shocked because nobody knows about this phrase other than him. And then he went to this, like, I don't know what you call it. It's not really an arcade. It's like a LAN party place, I guess. And played his MMORPG that he likes to play for a while. And then he went back home after that. And I think that's where we left off, so go ahead and load this up here. Oh, it wipes out the backlog when you look at it. Well, anyway. I knew the route well with its filthy, dark street, but today it felt strange, like I'd wandered into another world. Everything looked the same as always, but it felt like I was coming here for the first time. And there was this odd smell, like rotting garbage. I could feel the humidity clinging to my skin. If I hadn't known better, I would have assumed it had just rained. The air felt sticky.
いや、ちょっと待った。
What did I mean again? I felt a sense of deja vu before. When was it? Bro. They're even giving us theories for uh, what happens in the brain when deja vu occurs. Oh, okay. Jamais. I don't know how the fuck to say this, but jamais vu is the opposite. It's you've seen it many times, but it feels like it's the first time, apparently. Alright. Damn it. I was getting reality and my delusions mixed up. That was what the psychologists on TV said would happen if you played too many video games. Either way, it felt like I was coming here for the first time. And that wasn't all. I felt a prickling on the back of my neck, a feeling like somebody was looking down at me. I wasn't imagining it. No matter how fast I tried to walk, the gaze kept following me. Somebody was watching me right now. Their gaze was so powerful I could physically feel it. I wanted to look back, but I decided not to. This was a game I sometimes played with myself. Whenever I heard a small sound, or felt like somebody was watching me, I'd play the "I'm not turning around that easy" game. If I turned around, I lost. Usually, whenever I felt the gaze, I had delusions about ghosts or monsters with incredibly scary faces. Yet throughout all 17 years of my life, I'd never turned around and actually seen something there. I'd kind of started to enjoy this game since I knew I was probably safe. I'd listen for a moment, then raise an eyebrow in suspicion. Then I'd say a line from a manga. It wasn't that I was too scared to turn around, okay?
貴様、見ているな。その目誰の目？なんちゃって。
I tried to desperately remind myself that I wasn't scared, but the next thing I knew, I'd stopped walking. I could feel the tension in the air change slightly. My face was damp with sweat, and my knees were threatening to buckle. I gave in and turned around. I lost the game, but of course there was nobody there, not even a passing car. Why did everything feel so strange all of a sudden? The ringing in my ears had stopped. I only noticed after the sound stopped. Until that moment, there had been a sound like a ringing in my ears, but I hadn't been aware of it at all. Now I couldn't hear anything. It was suddenly silent, far too silent for the middle of a city. It felt like any sound would be crystal clear. I closed my eyes tight to listen. I couldn't hear anything. This was weird. This was weird, right? Usually you could hear the sounds of distant trains, car horns, faint noise like that. So why? Were my ears broken? I wanted to scream as loud as I could. I felt like if I didn't, I'd go crazy. But I couldn't. It was so quiet, and it felt like if I broke the silence, something terrible would happen. Suddenly, a single sound shattered the silent world. I looked ahead and saw many shiny things lying on the dark ground. They were scattered all over the asphalt.
十字架?
The moment I realized what they were, my legs unfroze and began to move forward. I picked one of them up. It was metal, and its long tip was sharp, like a needle. A stake? A nail? It was strangely shaped, so I'd mistaken it for a cross. I gripped the stake, dazed. I could hear it, a faint sound of some kind echoing. A cold sound, one that would make your blood turn to ice. It would start, then stop, then start again. My legs kept moving forward. I walked on, as if drawn to the source of the sound. Was it just a desire to see something scary? Maybe I wanted somebody to save me? To rescue me by plucking me out of this world of silence? It was like something from an old German fairy tale. Which one was it again? Oh, right. The Pied Piper of Hamelin, where the piper leads over 100 children on a march with the sound of his flute. The sound kept going. It was an awful sound, like something hitting something else. As I walked on, it kept getting closer. It was coming from the back of the narrow alley on the left. Once I rounded the corner, I'd see what it was. For some reason, I didn't think to turn around. The very idea of turning around never occurred to me. It was like I wasn't in control of my own body. I walked around the corner and saw, in the darkness, brilliant red. The first thing I thought was that I'd seen something like it before. Also, that it didn't look real at all. Maybe a few screws broke loose in my mind, and my senses had just become numb. In normal conditions, I would have screamed, fallen back on my butt, and peed myself right then and there. It was something that looked like a porcupine, or maybe a pincushion. Countless stakes were nailed into the wall. As I stared at it, I realized that red blood was pouring out from beneath the stakes. The brilliant red I'd seen was a pool of blood. Faint light from the street lamps outside the alley just barely reached in, making the red glisten. There were also all these little glistening piles of something. They kind of looked like hunks of meat. I tried to swallow, but my throat was parched dry. There wasn't a single drop of saliva in my mouth. I'd realized the thing nailed to the wall by those stakes was a human corpse. This was so far removed from my everyday life, so brutal, so overwhelming. And the one who had done it, the one who'd pounded all these stakes into raw concrete, was a single young girl. How could I tell? Because she was standing right there in front of the corpse, holding stakes in her blood-stained hand. Her back was turned, so I couldn't tell what the look on her face was. But the uniform she was wearing, it was Suimei's. The awful smell, like raw, rotting garbage, clung to my nostrils even more firmly. Every few seconds, I felt like I was about to throw up. I put my hand over my mouth so that I wouldn't vomit. And then I finally realized where the sense of déjà vu I'd been having came from.
あの時の将軍のリンク写真。
I didn't realize I'd spoken aloud until it was too late. This would prove to be a fatal mistake. I saw the girl's shoulders twitch as she heard my voice. Then she slowly turned around. Her gaze pierced me. Her eyes were so flat and empty. She had killed him. She looked at me with startled, wide eyes. Her expression then shifted to something that combined a smile with tears. And then...
よかった。
she whispered. Glad? Glad about what? Why would anybody be glad about anything right now? It didn't make sense. It was so bizarre. I felt a cold chill run down my spine and quickly looked away. It suddenly occurred to me that I didn't want to get involved in anything weird. I couldn't talk to real girls anyway. Also, she was a murderer. The cops were on their way. I was hungry too. Yeah, time to go home. Time to leave. Otherwise, I'd go crazy.
たく。
Suddenly, she said my name. I hadn't introduced myself. I'd never even seen her before.
あなたに会いたかった。
Her lips curled upward into a terrible grin, like a demon's. I screamed, and as I screamed, I ran. I kept yelling until my throat hurt, running as fast as I could. Just once, I looked back, but she wasn't following me. I was out of breath. I could hear the sound of my own panting. I was sitting in front of my computer monitor. My whole body was soaked with sweat, and my clothes were too. What did I just see? Was that a delusion of mine? I still felt like I was about to throw up, so I went to the fridge, got a soda, and gulped it down. It was a really realistic delusion, if I did say so myself, but way too gory. I was even still out of breath. If it was just a delusion, how could I be out of breath? That was impossible. I felt something strange in my right hand. I was holding it so tightly that my fingers had turned white. Until that moment, I hadn't even realized it. My heart pounding, I slowly relaxed my grip and opened my palm. It was a single stake. Scared, I flung it at the wall. It was the stake from the delusion. I remembered picking up one of the ones lying on the ground. But why? Wasn't that a delusion? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's impossible. Impossible. Impossible! I began to wander around the room, clutching my head in my hands. I needed to figure out if what I'd just seen was a delusion or reality. But before I could, I slipped on one of the CD cases on the floor and lost my balance. I reached out, trying to grab something so I wouldn't fall. The only thing in reach was the shelf where all my wives resided. By the time I realized what had happened, it was too late. It couldn't hold my weight, and I ended up falling back onto the floor as figure after figure poured down on me. Ugh. Damn it. This was just awful. Everything was just awful. I moaned, then started to see if my figures were okay.
侵害魔境のイグニスさんの剣が
It had broken clean in two. I'd bought that thing in an online auction and had to pay a whole bunch for it.
ふざけんなよ
I tried to put the sword back together, but even gluing it together wouldn't really fix it. It was worthless now.
マジで勘弁してくれよクソ
I kicked my chair in anger. Then I started to cry. Why did this have to happen to me? What did I do? I sat down and glumly stared at my now swordless Ignis. When the anger and confusion passed, I turned my mind towards the girl's face and the strange sight I'd seen. The fact that I was holding the stake meant that the murder was real, not a delusion. I didn't want to admit it, but I had no choice. By tomorrow, the media would be in an uproar. I wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. If I got involved with her... No, it wasn't a her. It was some kind of monster. I'd be done for. I was already pretty close to screwed anyway. I'd taken a murder weapon home with me. The police might even think I was the killer. And that demon saw my face. There was no escaping this now. Next, she'd come after me. I needed to think. For my own sake, I needed to think, so I could get out of this alive.
間違いない。あの写真は事件の予告メッセージみたいなものだったんだ。
There was no other explanation for how it happened, just like in the photos. First, the girl put together fake photos on the computer, simulating exactly how the murder would happen. That was her way of making the murder. No, I bet she'd want me to call it a work of art instead of a murder. Psychopaths like her always thought that way. That was her way of making sure it was perfect.
頭がおかしいよ。でもどうしてそれを僕に。そもそもあの女はナイトハルトが僕だってどうやって知った？僕の名前をどうやって知った？
What was I supposed to do? She'd be coming for me before long. She knew my name and my email, so she probably knew my address too. I pulled my legs up onto the chair and crossed my hands over my knees, then buried my head between them. The murder I'd seen yesterday was sheer madness. Just the thought of it happening to me.
死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない、死にたくない。
大丈夫。
Sarah was lying in front of my PC monitor, smiling at me.
タッキー、あなたはこの部屋に引きこもってればいいんだよ。したらあの悪魔だって手出しできないっしょ。そのうちに警察がうまく捕まえてくれるって。それまでは誰も信じちゃダメ。誰の言葉にも耳を傾けちゃダメ。悪魔ってさ、人の心の隙間をついてくるのが好きなんだよね。油断すんのはノー。できるっしょ、タッキ
ー。でもセーラ、
逃げるが勝ちってよく言うし、3次元のことなんてきれいさっぱり忘れちゃえばいいさ。あなたには一切関係ないことだって思えば気が楽っしょ。関係ないこと考えたって無駄無駄さ。いいこと教えてあげる。引きこもりって最強なんよ。だって誰にも会わないっしょ。つまり誰にも攻撃されない。これぞ最強の自己防衛方法なわけさ。だからタッキーは引きこもりになるべきなんさ。簡単っしょ。
そうかもしれない。
Bro, I don't understand why sometimes I'll just sit here and click and it doesn't do anything. And it's like I have to click it several times before it goes to the next line. Like, I don't know why the fuck it's doing that. That's why she was my wife after all. She was really smart. I leaned forward and gently grasped Saratan's thin waist. Even when my face got close to hers, Saratan didn't seem upset at all. She just kept smiling.
ありがとうセーラ、おかげで勇気が出てきた。そうだよ、3次元なんてクソくらいだ。あの悪魔だって僕みたいなキモオタのことなんて気にも留めてないさ。僕は安全だ。安心して毎日演奏したり好きなアニメを見てれば何の問題もないんだ。
でもさっき言ったみたく油断は禁物だぞ。
うん、分かってるよ。
Don't believe in anybody. Don't listen to anything anyone says. Beware of anything 3D. That was all I had to do, and I'd be safe.
セイラにそこまで心配してもらえて僕は幸せだわさてとそれじゃ気分直しにエンスロット
ライアンクロスライアンクロス約束は今ライアンクロスライアンクロス果たされるからライアンクロスライアンクロス解き放たれたライアンクロスライアンクロス週末
A clear voice echoed across Miyashita Park in the depths of the night. On top of the pedestrian bridge over Meiji Street, as the cars came and went below, the girl they called FES leaned up against the bridge's safety rail, seemingly oblivious to the noise below.
月夜の光が示された従者よ
She had no audience. If she'd done a real street performance, she probably would have had at least 100 people stopping to listen. But for now, FES had chosen instead to hide herself behind the veil of night.
この場所へつながる幻の道
All she had to do was stand here in the silence. Then she could be one with the darkness, and for a moment, at least, freed from the filthy air of Shibuya. That's how it seemed to her, anyway.
叫びはいつしか沈黙に変わって
Suddenly, she looked up at the night sky. Clouds that had covered it were slowly parting, and a faint ray of moonlight trickled through. But the bright, dazzling lights of Shibuya were hiding the hesitant twinkling of the stars.
落ちてゆく安息風に手と手をつないで
FES closed her mouth and reached up toward the sky.
その目誰の目
Okay, so she knows that phrase too, apparently. So she might have been the one who wrote that thing on the chalkboard then. Ooh. Ooh, damn. Okay. I spent the entirety of the next 24 hours in Basilard. I didn't even quit to eat. I dedicated myself fully to erasing Takumi Nishijo and being Nightheart. In ESO, I was a god. I didn't need to be scared of any demons. Everybody respected me. I always thought how nice it would be if I could spend forever in this wonderful world.
おおエンジェルハイロ来たこれ超レアすげえこれは早速使わないと装備 おー、キャラの見た目変わった。すげえ、これすげえ。見て見て、見ろってグリム。あ、ナイトハルト自重しろ。うっせえ、死ねえよ負け組。ちょっと街に戻って見せびらかしてこようかな。
I'd finally gotten one of the ultra-rare drops I wanted, and was incredibly excited. All the depression I'd been feeling had just blown away. An Angel Halo had a drop rate of 0.0001%. It was completely useless and just changed the way your character looked. But this also meant that everybody could see that you had an Angel Halo, and they would all be really jealous.
やった。ナイトハルトがまた一歩神に近づいた。
こら、開けろ。
Shut up. Who's that pounding on my door anyway? I'm enjoying my new rare item. Don't interrupt me. Oh, it's her sister. It's his sister. That voice. The minute I heard it, my good mood vanished. It was an assassin sent by my parents, my little sister, Nanami. This was going to be a pain in the butt. Damn it. A storm was about to roll in. I didn't want to open the door at all, but if I kept it shut, my parents would be the next ones to come. They'd tell me to stop living by myself and come home. My dad was pretty much the owner of this building. If he wanted to kick me out, he could. This just wasn't fair. Shut up! Don't yell so loud. She was still banging on the outside of the door. The walls of a shipping container are a single piece of metal, so any sound echoes really loudly. She knew that and was doing it anyway. I unlocked the padlock on the inside and opened the doors outward. I had no other choice.
やっと出てきた。生存確認。
This tiny shrimp of a girl was my little sister. She was 1 year younger than me.
呼んでるんだから返事くらいしてよね。お兄死んじゃったかもって思ったじゃん。
Every time I saw her, she was complaining about something. As you could tell from the way she was standing with her hands on her hips and pouting, she was a little brat. And if you ask me, she was nothing more than a huge nuisance.
うわ、相変わらず部屋の中汚な。ちょっとは片付けなよ。
Nanami walked right into my room without even bothering to ask if it was okay. She thought she could do whatever she wanted just because she was my little sister. To those of you out there who think little sisters are moe, I have a message for you. Face reality. Well, I guess she was kind of cute. If you were a lolly fan, she might totally be your type. But as her real brother, I didn't feel that way about her. At all. If anything, she seemed like a little baby to me. Oh, but I don't mind lolly characters. Just, they have to be 2D.
カビクサお兄の部屋って相変わらず不潔。掃除しろっていつも言ってるじゃん。どうしてしないの？まあどうせ掃除してくれる彼女なんかいないだろうし、鬼ってズボラだからこうなるのは目に見えてるけどさ。こうなったらやっぱりナナが掃除しに来てあげるしかないかな。
だが断る。
なんでよ。
お前に部屋荒らされたくない。
きっとそれがわざわざ生存確認しに来てあげてる妹に言うセリフ。
Well, you're not showing your older brother any respect, are you? And nobody asked you to see if I was alive anyway.
まったくなんでこんな面倒ばっかりかけさせる兄弟と血つながってるんだろう。たまに嫌になっちゃうよ。はあ、なんか喉乾いちゃった。飲み物もらうね。
Nanami walked to the back of the room and opened the fridge, again without even bothering to ask.
コーラしかないじゃん。ミルクティーとか用意しといてよ。
知らんがな。
See, it's doing it again. I keep clicking and nothing happens.
じゃあコーラもらうね。
As usual, she seemed to have no intention of asking for her brother's permission. She grabbed a bottle of soda, one that I'd already drank from out of the fridge. She hesitated for a moment before swallowing it down. Disgusting. She put her lips right on it. How could a girl be so filthy? This was the problem with 3D women. As soon as she left, I should throw that bottle out. Hey, wait!
美味しかった。やっぱ運動の後の一杯って格別。学校からここまで走ってきたんだ。
全部飲んだのか。しかも一気で。
I bought that soda with my own money. Being my little sister didn't give her the right to...
しまった。
Nanami stared at the now empty bottle in shock. She must have finally figured out how rude she was being.
どうしよう。また太っちゃうじゃん。
Huh?
お兄のせいだからね。
What was she talking about?
お兄がコーラ好きなせいでナナまでコーラ大好きっ子になっちゃったんだから。
人のせいにするなよ。
だってうちの冷蔵庫に入ってるのいっつもコーラだったじゃん。お母さんがお兄のこと甘やかすからだ。知ってる？コーラってカロリーすっごく高いの。だからお兄もあんまり飲みすぎない方がいいよ。今度からミルクティーにすべき。
Milk tea has basically the same calories as soda. And anyway, you don't get to tell me what to eat. Especially after you drank all my soda. Did you come all the way here just to tell me that?
もう帰れよ。
You confirmed that I was still alive. You should be done now, right? Why do you have to come into my room all the time?
お兄、冷たい。
Nanami seemed annoyed at my words. She was glaring at me with a frown. I didn't want to deal with it, so I just looked away.
せっかく心配して様子を見に来てあげてるのに。お兄ってずっとここに引きこもって誰とも喋らずに一日を終えちゃうことだってあるんでしょ？女の子と話す機会だってどうせ全くないんだよね。
Shut up! Don't make fun of me. I'm not interested in 3D girls. I don't need to talk to them.
言ってみればお兄と話す女の子はナナだけってことじゃん。だからさ、もっとナナのこと大事にしてよ。そしたら女の子との接し方もちょっとは分かってくるはずだし。
As she spoke, she picked up one of my figures. Hikaru Tan from Suicide Toward the Light. She stared at it. Hey, don't touch one of my wives. If you get a fingerprint on her, I'm seriously going to kick your butt.
あと、お兄は自分のことにもっと気を使って。こんなお人形さんにうつつを抜かしてる場合じゃないよ。ナナはお兄の死体の第一発見者になんかなりたくないからね。
What was my little sister trying to say? She was starting to sound like Mom lately. What I meant by that was... She was annoying.
いいから帰れよ。
そんなに帰れ帰れ言わないでよ。お兄のバカ。まだこっちには用事が残ってるの。
Ugh. She was starting to get hysterical. If I made her any madder, she might go berserk. I had to stay calm.
携帯買いに行こ
は？
What was she talking about?
う。お父さんがそうしろって。お兄が携帯持てばいつでも生存確認できるじゃん。お金はナナが預かってきたから今から買いに行こうよ。今時携帯持ってない人なんていないよ。時代に取り残されちゃうよ。
Shut up, trend follower. I know a lot more about what's popular than you do. I've got the internet, you know. Okay, maybe most kids my age had a phone, but I didn't. There was no reason why I would want one. I had nobody to call or text, and I didn't want to spend money on something I wasn't going to use.
だから行こう。
Nanami put the figure back on the shelf and peered up at me.
どうせお兄は機種とかわかんないだろうからナナと同じ機種にしちゃいなよ。
She took her phone out of her bag and waved it in my face.
ほら、これがナナの。色が可愛いでしょ。
Oh, I've seen that frog before. It was probably in Steins Gate, too. That's probably where I've seen this before.
ついでだからストラップも同じのあげるよ。
うわ、なんという手抜きキャラ。
Hanging from the strap was a small figurine of a character that was, well, whatever it was. It certainly wasn't cute. It looked like something created by a rookie designer with no talent at all. It wasn't cute or even creepy cute. It was just creepy.
手抜きじゃないもん。ゲロカエルンはこういうデザインなの。今すっごく流行ってるんだからね。はあ、女子高生の流行なんてお兄が知ってるわけないか。そういうとこを直せば少しは女子と会話成立すると思うよ、きっと。
Quiet, girl! What the hell kind of name is Garo Froggy? There was no way this thing was popular. The poor girl didn't realize she was being manipulated by the media.
っていうか、今はゲロカイルの話じゃなくて、いいから携帯買いに行こうよ。あ、別にお揃いがいいとか言ってるわけじゃないからね。家族で同じ機種だと基本料金が割引されるサービスがあるからだよ。家族で持ってないのはお兄だけなんだからね。
いらない。
なんで？お金はお父さんが出してくれるんだよ。
必要ない。
It would just be a nuisance. If I had a phone, Mom would probably call every day. And if I didn't pick up, she'd send her pet assassin, Nanami, here to check on me. In other words, it would just be a nuisance. One that would make my life a lot harder. I didn't want that at all.
もう信じらんないよ、このバカ鬼。もう帰る。
ああ、そうしてくれ。
I opened the door for her to go, but she didn't move. She just glared at me, shoulders heaving with rage.
ほんとバカ、アホバカ鬼。駅まで送ってくれるとかしてよ。
嫌だね。
I'd never walked her to the station all the time she'd come before. Why would I start now?
だって最近殺人事件とかで物騒じゃんか。こういう場合心配するのが兄弟ってもんでしょ。
For a moment, what happened yesterday felt like it was going to come flooding back to me. I shook my head desperately, trying to drive the thought out of my mind.
どうでもいいし。
Whoever the new gen killer was, they weren't going to be interested in a little kid like Nanami.
ありえない。ナナが死んでもいいって言うんだ。
She was crying. I must have really made her sad. Well, it felt great. That's what you get for disrupting my peaceful life. This would be my little way of getting revenge. That's what you get.
バカ、死んじゃえ。お兄なんか猟奇的に殺されちゃえ。
She knocked me aside and ran out the door. Whew. At last, the storm was over. The room was quiet now that she was gone. It was much nicer. The base was my home. Nothing was allowed to happen here unless I wanted it to. Alright, well, I think we're gonna stop here for tonight. I'm tired. So I think tomorrow is probably going to be the same kind of deal. I'm going to be busy tomorrow, but I should still be able to do a late night stream, kind of like tonight. But yeah, it'll most likely be a pretty short stream, so yeah. All right, well, I will see y'all tomorrow night, and have a good night.